I had created a vision for myself, what I wanted my health to look like, my relationships, my business, and like my time freedom. I said, I would love to live in England. I would like, who comes up with that? And
Yeah.
then next thing you know,
You
like,
felt it.
put myself in that emotion, that energetic
Right.
vibration of like, oh my gosh, I would love to live in England.
Because your brain doesn't actually know the difference between feeling it, whether you're meditating on it and living in the moment and actually living in the moment. I'm sharing that with our audience because that's what I've studied. And so I just want to share that when you're saying that, if anyone's not familiar, she's literally having the same emotional state, altered state, as if she was literally there.
Yeah, but yet I'm living in Colorado. Like my physical situation, my physical surroundings do not match. Your subconscious does not know the difference. So if you're creating the visual images, and that's why visualization is very powerful, but when you have the emotional, energetic vibration, that emotional attachment with those images, poof, like game over. So like I was doing that. I was reading this vision, once a day for like a month, and next thing I know, I get this email saying, come and live and work in the UK. I'm like, what? Like, okay. Like, this stuff's real.
I've had it happen to me too, guys. Like if you're listening to this, we're not talking about, just sitting there and saying you want $1 million to show up on the porch and you don't do anything. You can't just sit on it and not do anything and take action. What Judy's talking about, what I've personally experienced a lot in the recent weeks that are leading up to me doing this interview, is meditating on it, asking the universe for something very specific. You got to be very specific on what it is. And then taking the action and like living as if in the moment that you're going, like you deserve that thing, right? So you can't just, the universe just give handouts. Hey guys, our guest today is no stranger to wearing many hats. She's a mother, an emergency room nurse, a high-performance coach, and also a veteran who served in the U.S. Navy for 7 years as a hospital corpsman. She guides military and veteran entrepreneurs to increase their productivity, improve their well-being, and attain a healthy work-life balance. Welcome to the show, Judy Skilling.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Mike. It's such a privilege and an honor. Thank you so much.
I'm honored to have you, and I want to start right there. A gigantic thank you for your time in service, 7 years, and obviously for your time coming on the show today, sharing this moment with our audience. I know there's much to unpack, including an exciting book that you have out with an amazing concept. Obviously, we were talking about it off camera, actually, about being a mom and being a nurse and just all the many things that the many hats that people wear, as I kind of tease at the top of the show. And we're not alone, you and I. I mean, we're, both parents, but also running, our own business. You have the coaching and consulting. I have Social Chameleon. And then we're also trying to do other things in our lives too. So I just want to say the book really, it's something I need to dive into. Obviously, I peeked at it. I love the cover. It catches your eye. It's so funny. Guys, we're going to show that right here. I just want to talk about the book in a second. It's called Unhot the Mess You Are. And it shows a mother, right? She's like, looks like she's cooking in the kitchen. The kid's covered in whatever food they were given. Is it like chocolate or spaghetti or something? They're just totally covered like head to toe. And the mom looks like the whole, her whole world's on fire trying to figure it out. How many people?
She's a hot mess.
Yeah, hot mess. It's like the definition, if you look it up in the dictionary. That's the picture everybody pictures when you think of it, I feel like. And you created a book to kind of peel back the layers of that. And I love the concept. We're coming out of 2020. Right now we're recording this in June of 2021. And I think people are still feeling that. They're talking about our kids doing school from home while we're trying to work and balance that. And whether people like to admit it, I think we all have a little hot mess in us. And it's just a matter of how well we monitor it and how well we maintain it, right? You don't want the hot mess to take control of your life, right? You got it. And so people can pick up your book on Amazon. Again, Unhot the Mess You Are. We'll dive into that in a second. What I'd like to do is let people know where they can find you. You keep it nice and easy. Judy Skilling can be found, guess what? Surprise, surprise, at judyskilling.com. It's spelled Skillling. I'll have the show notes available right in the description of this episode. You guys can click on that website, and you can also find her on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'll have that all linked up for you in the show notes as well. Let's kick into this. I know you're really big about, and you talk a lot about time freedom. Ooh, that gets everybody's antennas up right now. Time freedom. What does that mean? We haven't seen freedom or time in quite some time, right? No pun intended. Can you share why that is? So why is time freedom so important to you? And then how can you achieve it? I think that's what people care about, is how we can actually achieve that time freedom.
No, that's a fantastic question. I think when we're talking about time freedom, it means so much to different people. It's either being able to do what you want without any kind of restrictions, responsibilities, like, I'm on my own, or just being able to do and things, being a responsible adult, so to speak, but still enjoying the things that you want to do. When I had experienced the loss of, my husband, which we could probably dive into, it shifted my perception of time and how precious life is. And it really kind of was a spiritual type of reflection of like, we don't know how much longer we're going to be here. And while I'm here on earth serving my mission and my purpose, how can I still use my time and do the things that bring me joy, that make me happy, that make me laugh? How can I, appreciate these experiences? And we all have responsibilities, like you were alluding to before. We have businesses, we have works, we have responsibilities, and sometimes we get sucked into those responsibilities without realizing what we want to do in terms of appreciating the time that we have, because we're being pulled in so many different directions. And so to me, it's about just like, okay, even if I just have an hour a day, that's for me, what can I do in this hour that is absolutely exciting to me? Whether it's going to a farmer's market, which I love, and just walking around, or going shopping, or just, sometimes I'll walk around a bookstore and I'm like, this is what I enjoy doing. And this is what I feel like is time freedom, even if it's just, an hour or a half day. And a lot of people think of time freedom as going on vacation, so to speak. You know what I mean? And so
some big planned event. It doesn't need to be that. It's an everyday, and everybody's, as you're telling, as you're like, sharing that story about the farmer's market, I'm just thinking it reminded me that everybody's thing is different. Everybody's time freedom is different. For me, it would be a little bit extra time with my daughter every day. I try to at least, I talk to her every day, obviously. I'm a divorced dad, so I get her 2.5 days a week. So to me, any additional time that I get with her is a bonus, right? Yeah. So I talk to her every day on the phone, and then when I'm with her, I try to be as present as possible. So that's mine. Your time freedom could be going out to the farmer's market without, maybe your phone's turned off for an hour, and you can breathe and reflect. Some people, it literally would be breathing and reflecting, take an hour of meditation. I know I'm trying to get up a little bit earlier, and I want to get outside. I just had someone who was doing breathing exercises with me let me know that the air, when you do that at before 5 o'clock in the morning, kind of the hit that you get from the air is different. It actually hits you different. I'm not going to try to speak on it, but it's something that you can look into. So time freedom, obviously super important. So what about the how? So if someone's already easy to say, Judy, I have 3 kids, I got the business, and they don't have to own their own or run their own business, but people could be sales associate or a sales rep that's, working 60 hours a week. I have that hat and t-shirt too. I was an insurance agent. I work 60-hour weeks. So they're going, okay, that's cute.
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
In theory.
So what are maybe 2 or 3 real things that you would work with someone on? Let's get a little bit of free coaching from you.
Yeah, of course.
But 2 or 3 takeaways that, man, if you do these things, it's going to work out in the long run.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic question, because people who are listening to this, great. She doesn't have my life. She has no idea what kind of stress I'm under. Whatever. She's whatnot. And so, I'm a single mom running a business, also kind of having a part-time job. Everybody is busy. Everybody is busy. But what I had learned along the way in terms of shifting my perspective on time is one, I have to set boundaries. Like that is non-negotiable, and I have to set boundaries in terms of, how can I put myself first? And I don't mean that in a selfish way, like greedy, like I'm looking out for me and nobody else, but just more of like, how can I make sure that I am looking after myself and I'm not being overstressed or overworked or, taking it out on people who are around me because I can't manage my mental wellness, And so even if you set boundaries and you learn to say no, and I talked about this in a Forbes article I just wrote, I talked about, are you being sacrificial in your life and your business? And there I talk about setting boundaries, saying no, and how sometimes we feel bad about saying no because we feel obligated to help others because that's, majority of the people that I've come across have that heart to serve, want to help others, which is perfectly fine, but not at the jeopardy of your own well-being, and that's where you really have to be like, is this important? Is this a want or a need, or am I jeopardizing something? Am I sacrificing my time for somebody else's, And so that's one of the things that I would really challenge somebody to look at their life and be like, where can I set boundaries, and even have that heart to heart with your family, be like, listen, mommy needs some time at the end of the day, dinner's made, kids are good, we're winding down for the evening. This is mommy's time, or this is daddy's time, or this is my time, just, respect my time. I have 30 minutes,
Right.
And even if it's just 30 minutes, that's enough time for you to kind of appreciate and set those boundaries. And so that definitely, that would be my suggestion. That would be my advice. And that's what I've done too. I've had to set boundaries with my daughter, and she completely respects that because I've had to have that conversation. Like, I love you so much, and please do this for me. I know that you love me too. And because you love me, you're going to let me do this. And so it's a negotiation, and it's, having that agreement with my daughter, especially.
I think it's huge. I think not only setting the boundaries, like you said, but obviously respecting yourself enough to hold yourself accountable to your boundaries. And that's one of my biggest problems is I have my entire day mapped out. It's color-coded, it's blocked. But very rarely do I stop something when it's supposed to stop to go into the next thing. So then things still, even color coding and setting boundaries, get pushed. Because setting boundaries to me is kind of like step one. Step two is holding yourself to it, right? And respecting yourself enough to say, hey, this project's rolling right now, but this project needs to pause so I could start the next one. So tomorrow, one isn't done and the other one's at 0%. Let's maybe get both at 50% by tomorrow morning, or we can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally take away from that. It's a great reminder. And what I love about, high performance coaching and the many books that I've read in that and the many videos I've watched and some of the courses that I've taken myself is that a lot of it isn't rocket science. I hate to use that. A lot of it isn't,
that groundbreaking,
like a Harvard law
like
degree worth of knowledge for you to totally understand. I wouldn't say it's not earth-shattering because sometimes things could be literally, just aha moments that don't need to be like this intricate, scholarly thing to learn. My point is it's usually pretty basic stuff, but the difference is the people who hold themselves accountable to the disciplines of every day. And I absolutely love what you just said because, boundaries are a big part of it. So I think that's where it all starts. Outlining the skeleton. Otherwise, you're going to run yourself crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So even, first thing in the morning, before the family gets up or before your day actually starts and before you have the dings and stuff of your cell phone, like first thing in the morning, that's usually like, and that's what a lot of people who are highly successful, they set aside, that hour, that golden hour in the morning, before, because it's a mindset preparation but you're spending time on yourself before the world wakes up.
One-on-one self-love time. And then
exactly.
And then the emails, because if you first thing you do is check your phone, you're running everyone else. Everyone else is running your show. You're like, whoa, you're in response mode. Yeah.
And that's what Brendan Burchard talks about. He's just like, I'm not, he talks about setting boundaries, delegation, things like that too. And he talks about not letting other people's agenda run yours.
Mhm.
and that's very powerful when you're thinking about like, okay, how am I controlling my time, or is other people controlling my time because I said yes to too many things, and
Mhm.
now I can't really spend the time on the things that I really do enjoy, whether it's business or personal or professional related. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so you talk
also could
about that.
say too is I know I try to pack a lot in, and someone taught me this too. Like, try to do like 4 rocks in your calendar a day, so you could really tackle them and get them done, taken care of. Non-negotiables, right? The boundaries are
Yeah.
set, and you will do those no matter what. My problem is trying to do 16 of them, and it's literally
16
by
pebbles versus 4 rocks.
yeah, by trying to,
You know?
what do you get? Maybe lunch and dinner in that mix, and maybe a half hour to breathe, and then what ends up happening is all the other real stuff that's going to come into the day just takes over later on, and those 16 things aren't as strong as you'd hope them to be. So I feel it's like pick the 3 or 4 really strong things that you can get done in a day, and set some other time aside, right,
Yeah.
to
And
be
that's
able to
that
get to
kind of
those.
just echoes time blocking and being strategic with your time. And I think when you're strategic with the times that you have,
Hmm.
you're able not only to accomplish more, but you're able to do the things that you want more because, and a lot of people, I would say, rebut the idea of having a structured calendar because initially people feel like if you have a structured calendar, then you don't have any time. And it's
Hmm.
actually the other way around. When you have a structured calendar, you know exactly where your time's going and you know how much time you have left over,
Hmm.
at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day or whatnot. And so
Yeah.
it's not so much restricting or constrictive. And it's not like, I don't have any time freedom because I have this restrictive calendar. It's like, no, you do have time freedom because you have a restrictive calendar. You're
Hmm.
able to be like, I'm spending 30 minutes on this task or 50 minutes here, or I have my time block of like 2 hours. Wow, I just got all my stuff done. Now I have like,
Yeah.
a few hours left to do whatever I want. What
And
is
I'll say
this?
too, like to add, Judy, is that the top performers know they can tell you what they've done, right? It's not just a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff. They can say like, "Oh, this happened for 45 minutes. I talked to this person from 3 to 3:15. And from 3:15 to 3:30, I called my mom. I had that time in there. Talked to family. Right
Mhm.
at 3:30, I went on my next Zoom call, whatever." And they can actually show you, written down or in your calendar on your computer of every step of the way that they've done.
Right.
Thinking about this too, I talk a lot about sports analogies on the show. They kind of come natural for me, and it's how I make things make sense in the real world too. Is like taking a situation. We're talking about time management, and I'm thinking about the best athletes and high performers are the ones who can manage their time the best in a crunch moment in a game, right? The 2-minute drill in football. The best players are the ones that do the best during that 2 minutes. Now it's a
Mhm.
60-minute game, but if you're not very good in the last 2 minutes of the game, most games are within a field goal or two. That's 3 to 6 points. You get a touchdown and an extra point, you get 7. So it
Right.
comes down to that 2 minutes often. And the best quarterbacks, the ones that we don't even need to name that you're already thinking about, manage that 2 minutes really well. Everybody has 2 minutes, right,
Mhm.
in a day. Everybody has hours in their day, 9 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, whatever, however many hours you choose to work. We all can work 15 and still get a full night's sleep, right?
Yeah.
And the ones that are doing the best are just managing that time better. It's really like they don't have more than you have. We all have the same 24 hours, is my point. So I don't want to go too far into that. We could do a whole, I know you and I could probably go on further with it. Anybody tuning in, I want to make sure you have so much value you can provide. And I know I only get it for like another 20 minutes. So I really want to rip through a little bit more of this. Again, we're talking with Judy Skilling, judyskilling.com. She mentioned it. I have it a little bit later here to talk about, but I don't want to overpass or look further than you talking about your late husband. And I know he was also a veteran. So again, huge thanks for his service as well. He passed away with colon cancer, and it was only a couple years into your marriage. I don't know when you got married, so if you can kind of share that story with us if you'd like. But what I'd like you to actually do too is talk about the man and his character, right? I want to give you the moment to do that, what we can learn
Yeah.
from him. And then
I'm going to
also,
get emotional talking about it, but
I
that's
know, and that's
that's
okay.
perfectly fine.
But there's going to be people in the audience who lost a close one, a spouse, husband, father, son, daughter, mother, either from COVID-19 or a veteran situation or a, active duty situation,
Or even
um,
cancer.
cancer. Absolutely. We don't know. And you mentioned it earlier. You don't know when your time is going to come up, right? That ticker. Everyone has a different time that it's going to be their last breath. So I know it's emotional. You can respond however you like, but if there's you've dealt with it yourself, and I know you're not the kind of person who just wants to deal with it and just throw it away. If you can help someone with your experience, I know you're here to do that. That's why you wanted to be on the show. And that's why I wanted you to be here. What would you tell someone who's dealing with that, and maybe it's very fresh?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. I know that somebody, because cancer is so huge, somebody knows somebody who has lost somebody to cancer. Like, cancer is just one of those things that, somebody close that might is struggling or even gotten in remission and survived. We actually got married in 2011, and so we were only married for about 6 years. And so he got diagnosed in 2013, and at the age of 25, which is really, really young. And that's, like your life is just starting. We had only just been married for just a couple years, and we had our baby girl. At the time, she was 10 months old. So she wasn't even yet a year. And we got this diagnosis. And the odd thing about it, not odd, but like he is an amazing guy. He was, 6'3", nicknamed Sasquatch, big old boy. Like, like he had this beard, and he loved fishing and hunting, and, World of Warcraft, D&D. Like, he was a closet nerd, but he like put on the front that he loved hiking and camping and all this other stuff. And so, and he was just a very sweet person. And, when we had got this diagnosis, he didn't have any signs or symptoms leading up to this. He was, the day before, he was perfectly fine. Like, he was playing with our daughter, and I was working in the emergency room, and, he was going to school to become a mechanical graphic engineer, so like we were living life like as a newly married couple, brand new, we're settling into the American typical have a baby, get married kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And then the next day, everything changed. He's like, I remember like I'm getting ready to go to work, and he's like, my stomach hurts. And I was like, you're fine. Suck it up. You got to watch our daughter. I got to go to work. Like, no, I really can't get out of the bed. Like, my side hurts so much. And I'm like, oh, this is unlike you, like, all right, well, I'll call in. We'll go to the hospital and we'll see what's going on. I bet you it's like those, pizza rolls you ate last night, and it's your gallbladder acting up. You know what I mean? Like, that's where my mind was at,
sure.
Because
we're
I'm
not
like
thinking the worst in that moment.
We're not thinking the worst. I'm thinking you're having a gallbladder attack because you're eating pizza rolls all the time. And it's like high in fat, and your gallbladder does not like lots of fat. That's where like my mind was at the time. And I'm like, I bet you have like a gallbladder stone or something, was not that. It was not his gallbladder.
So they figured it out right away?
They saw that his enzymes, his liver enzymes were through the roof, much more elevated than the normal, because they just did basic blood work. And they're like, we're going to do a CAT scan. And that was like on a Sunday. And it all just went downhill from then. They're like, we're going to keep you in the hospital. We're going to run some tests. And like at the end of the week, his parents came up, and we were all just kind of like, okay, now what do we do?
And he was 25 at that age or at that time? Yeah.
Yeah, 25. And that was just like, okay, what do we do? And so anyway, we then spent the following 5 years doing lots of surgeries and procedures and radiation and chemo. And during that time, now we're down to like a single income. So it's me working, and, he's able to get some financial stuff through the military and all this other things. And then we have our daughter, who like the first 5 years of her life is just going to the hospital. Daddy is sick. We have to be quiet, because daddy's resting, and daddy can't play right now. And she was so smart that she knew that daddy wasn't well, and we couldn't afford childcare. So when I had to go to work, like, he's watching our daughter, and there were times where I'm like, are you even okay? Like, are you okay to watch this rambunctious?
It's a lot. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I get it. Yeah. It's a lot of,
It is. And he would send me pictures of her just sitting on the couch with him the whole day, because she knew that daddy wasn't well, and she would not be so playful with him. But the moment mommy comes in, she's like, let's play. And she's all over the place. And but she was so smart, and she knew, and kids are very intuitive in terms of that song, especially that's such a young age.
Yeah.
But, with watching somebody that you love so much struggle, and you're like, I want to help you so much. And I'm going to get emotional just thinking about it. But that you want to help them, so much, but you can't. You just feel completely helpless. And you're like, what else can I do? And I know people who have seen and witnessed somebody that they love, life slipping away in front of you, and you're like, I can't do it. How can I help you? And that's kind of how my mind was, at that time. Like, how can I would do anything just to give you another hour of my life, just, can I donate my time to you?
Can we trade? Yeah. Oh my God.
And so it's a very emotional and strong, experience watching somebody slip life away. And that's, during that experience, really shifted my mindset on like time. Like, and after, going through the grieving process, I'm like, I'm here. This is my one life. Like, whatever I got to do, to make sure that I make the memories, and to show up for my daughter, and to take care of my body, and, to make sure that I'm like showing up for people, and making sure I'm looking after myself. But, with somebody who might be listening, who's going through that experience, whether it's a friend or family, or like, just showing up for them, that's all I could do. I could only like show up and look after my husband and hold his hand and just tell him, I love you. And
that's huge though, Judy. I know it seems like you wanted to physically and give more. You were emotionally giving it all, and then some. You were there like emotionally and spiritually, obviously, like connected.
Yeah.
And as a dad, with you telling me that story about your daughter being next to him while he, wasn't able to do too much, and she knew. I mean, that, like, I don't even have words for any of this, but like, I mean, that's something I believe she'll remember too, that she was able to be there with him. And I'm sure that's all he needed, right? He had his medicine he needed, that he required, but that your little girl, and I have it down, Jaina, right?
Yeah.
Jaina was his the best medicine he could have had that day.
And she is like, she's 8 now, but like when I look at her and I talk to her, and I'm like, you're just like your dad, like spitting image 100%. I'm like, you're just the
cool
version, So like, there's that reminder when I look at her, and I look at, pictures of him, and I look at pictures of her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then just like the as you know, as a parent, your child develops these quirkiness that's passed down. You're like, I have no idea where you got that. Is not me.
Right. Yeah, that's not me.
You know what I mean?
All the good stuff is me. The others, I don't know where you got that from. That is not a behavior. You learned that one from me.
Yeah. And so she has developed these quirks that have been passed down from him. He didn't teach her, but she just genetically has these quirks. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is your dad right there.
That does give you that, we're not able to change the past, but how we move forward.
Yeah.
I think it's huge to, to see him through her, right? Let her be her, but see his great qualities and traits. Thank you for sharing that. And I know a lot of people are going through something right now. They might be listening to this, and this is exactly what they need to hear. And again, we're not able to change the past, but we can change certainly what we do now. We need to take the time to get through it. I lost my dad. My dad passed away in December. I don't know if I've even let it hit me yet, because you kind of put your guards up. So every day I feel like the guard is coming down a little bit more of reality, letting reality kind of live inside a little bit. And I think that's part of that's healthy though, because I don't want to go too down in a negative space. And I know he'd want me to just bounce back up, because we're all going to get in that moment. You're knocked down on the mat. And, when you're there, I just feel like something I learned over the last few years, especially as an entrepreneur, you get knocked down quite a bit, is when you're down there, just don't stay down there too long, right? It's okay to live in that moment and use it as fuel too. but don't stay there for a week or a month. And then all of a sudden, everything else in your life starts to breed from this negativity, where you can totally internalize it as you should, and be real about it. But then now you start to go a little bit at a time. And I know I've seen you do it. I know we've only talked a few times, but I know as part of your story, the book that you wrote isn't about you staying in a fetal position forever, right after getting hit with many, many things in your past. Talk about adversity. We're going to talk about the book again, Unhot the Mess You Are. We're going to take a short break. We're going to talk about the book afterwards. I have some more that in the last 10 or 5 minutes that we have together, I just want to make sure we hit on a few things, because there's a lot more that we can tell in your story to help our audience out. So let's take a quick break. We're here with Judy Skilling. We'll be right back. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, we're back in action with Judy Skilling. You guys can connect with her on Facebook and LinkedIn. Those links are right in the show notes. I want to continue to roll. We only have a few more minutes with Judy. Something in the research I've done on you, I noticed that you do believe in the law of attraction. You may have not used those words to describe it, but it's keywords. We talked about time management. We talked about how do you create more time. And I think something that I've personally believed in and now have seen results of myself is the law of attraction. Can you elaborate on that, let people know what it means to you? And then kind of like the last question, not only what it is, but how can they utilize it?
I love that those universal laws. I mean, there's a specific handful when it talks about universal laws, like the law of reciprocity, this and that. Law of attraction, if you've not watched The Secret, if you've not watched Think and Grow Rich, read Think and Grow Rich, and I think there's a movie out apparently about it. I geek out over that stuff. And I basically, without going too heady or too woo-woo, like a completely different universe, in a simplistic form. And some people think it works and some people doesn't. It works if you believe it works. And I've seen it happen time and time again in my life. And I recognize it and I'm like, thank you, because this is what I've asked for, and it could just be like a small thing, as in like, I would love to have a really good parking spot at the close of the store when I'm in the parking lot. Like, you can bring these things to fruition, like the parking lot manifestation is what some people call it. You know what I mean? And that's worked for me too. Like when I'm driving around in a parking lot, I'm like, I would love to have a really close parking spot. Oh, hey, look, there it is. But anyway.
Opposed to the person who says, I'm never going to relate. I'm never going to find a parking spot. I'm never going to find a parking spot. I'm never going to find a parking spot. Right? So the thing that your brain focuses on and the energy that you're putting in the universe is that, okay, this guy's never going to find it. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So why if you're going to say things negative, the negative energy, you're reversing it to saying you are going to find it.
Right. And that, because we live in such a negative environment in our society, a lot of things are very negative and pessimistic. Shifting your mindset to start to think of more optimism and positivity and optimism without being so, cheerfully like Pollyanna, like,
it's gotta be real. Great. It's got to be real. You're not like, hey, everybody, it's a happy day.
Right.
That's how you get punched in the throat pretty quickly.
Exactly. And you're like, you're just obnoxious right now. Like please clown. Just turn it down. Yeah, we're not doing that. We're talking about no, this is my intention. This is what I would love to have. And that was one of the things that I had learned early in my coaching teachings and practice, was just using the word love.
Mm-hmm.
outside of just like, I love you, but it's just like, because we are all spiritual people. We have a soul. We're spiritual people. We're spiritual, having like a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And love is one of the strongest frequencies when it comes to emotional and energetic vibration. Love
Mm-hmm.
is a high. Grief, sadness, is at the very, very low. Negativity is at the very low.
Mm-hmm.
So early on, I had to start using that word in my vocabulary more often, outside of just, I love you, your daughter, I love you, husband. It's just like, no, I would love to have this. I would love to experience this. And, because you're elevating that emotional attraction, that emotional energy, and whatever is like that matches that emotion, that energetic vibration,
Mm-hmm.
that's what comes to you. you
Right.
know so I don't know if I shared this with you, like, I had moved to the UK in March of 2019, but the whole year of 2018 I had created a vision for myself, what I wanted my health to look like, my relationships, my business, and like my time freedom. And in that vision I created, I said, I would love to live in England. I would love, like, who comes up with that? And
Yeah.
then next thing you know,
You
like,
felt it.
yeah, I put myself in that emotion, that energetic vibration of like, oh my gosh, I would love to live in England. And
Because
you're
your brain
imagining,
doesn't actually know the difference between feeling it, whether you're meditating on it and living in the moment, and actually living in the moment. I'm sharing that with our audience because
yeah,
that's what I've studied. And so I just want to share that when you're saying that, if anyone's not familiar, she's literally having the same emotional state, altered
as if I
state,
was,
as if
yeah.
she was literally there.
Yeah, but yet I'm living in Colorado. Like, my physical situation, my physical surroundings do not match.
Uh-huh.
But your subconscious does not know the difference. So if you're creating the visual images, and that's why visualization is very powerful, but when you have the emotional, energetic vibration,
Mm-hmm.
that emotional attachment with those images, whew, like game over. So
Mm-hmm.
like I was doing that. I was reading this vision, once a day for like a month, and next thing I know, I get this email saying, come and live and work in the UK. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
okay, like,
Yeah.
this stuff's real,
Yeah.
and so, but that happens all the, depending on
I've
how
had it happen
big.
to me too, guys.
Yeah,
Like if you're listening to this, we're not talking about, just sitting there and saying you want $1 million to show up on the porch and you don't do anything. You can't
right.
just
No,
sit on it and not do anything and take action. What Judy's talking about, what have I've personally experienced a lot in the recent weeks that are leading up to me doing this interview, is meditating on it, asking the universe for something very specific. You got to be very specific on what it is. And then taking the action and like living as if in the moment that you're going, like you deserve that thing, right?
right.
So you can't
Yeah,
just, the universe doesn't just give handouts. But if you go and you work your butt off and you do the things that you're looking to do, and in your case, you were believing you were going to get that, and you're constantly putting that energy out, and somewhere that energy connected onto something else and brought it in.
yeah. And
But
that's the thing. It's like,
yeah.
when you ask, like,
Mm-hmm.
ask and you shall receive. I mean, you hear that all the time. But when
Mm-hmm.
you ask for it and it actually shows up, then it's like, okay, I've met you halfway. That's what the universe is telling you. I've met you halfway because you've asked for this. Now you have to actually take the action,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be very aware and look for those things. Like, now you've turned on your mind's eye to look for what it is that you've asked for, and it
Mm-hmm.
can come up. It doesn't ever come in the way that you think it's going to come, because
Right.
there's an infinite amount of possibilities that whatever you're asking for can come through.
Absolutely, and it's similar. I've talked about it before on the show. When we're thinking about, like, you buy the new car, the color, make, model, year of that car starts to show up on the road more. They were already there. It's just that your brain and your
Looking for
soul
it.
is looking for it because it's now more fresh on your mind. And it's no different than, like, if you think about the positive things in life and the people you want to meet, and you're resonating at that. It will be there. It'll start to show up more, right? It'll start to be brighter for you, and your vision gets clearer on those things. So I definitely recommend anyone who doesn't know too much about the law of attraction, look it up on YouTube. There's great videos out there. Think and Grow Rich is one of my favorite books. I've read it multiple times. It talks about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Next book on my to-do list is Unhot the Mess You Are. It's on Amazon. Judy, and we only have like 1 minute left. I want to get you on to your next meeting. Can you kind of set the book up for us?
Yeah, so I wrote this when I was really studying the law of attraction and transformational spiritual and things like that prior to me shifting my focus to high performance. And so it's an amazing book. And I wrote that like in a week and I got it self-published in 30 days, and I was working with a high performance coach at the time. But the book really talks about, that 5-step of just like, what is your vision? How do you take action on it? And what's really great about the book is it's, less than an hour reading time. So it's really short. It's also on Audible, so you can listen to it if you're on your commute or whatnot. And there's a lot of questions to ask yourself. So it's a really good self-reflection type of book, so that when you're reading you're reading the chapter on, let's say mindset, and then you're answering the questions, it gives you a little bit more tangible, like, okay, how is this showing up right now? And so it's a really good engaging book. And that was the purpose of, I just didn't want to sit here and just be like, blah, 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 blah. But my point is like, how can you walk away in some tangible and how can you apply it in your life? So it's a really good engaging question and answer summary, type of book, which was what my intention was.
Yeah, taking action after reading the book is obviously the most important. Applying it, I talked about that quite a bit. I've read some incredible books, and I try to apply as much as I can. I don't like even saying the word try. That's a weak word. So the thing I do is I'll go back and read it again and say, okay, how much further along am I than the first time I read it? I better be further along the second time. Right. You can read it as many times as you want. No one's telling you a book is one and done. But I love the way that you set it up where your audience in the book is active in the process and they're part of it, and then there's engaging questions. I always like the books too that I just write in them, highlight in them. Sometimes there's literally like a workbook style. I know some of Grant Cardone's book were like that, where it's like, what did you learn? And it kind of quizzes you to make sure you're actually paying attention. I love it.
Yeah. And this book, like I said, it's less than an hour. So it's like, I don't know, less than 100 pages or something like that. But if you get a physical book, there's lines in the book so that you can write. It's not just like a blank space, but take it. I am particular like that. I'm like, I like to write on lines. And so anyway, it's a really great book to kind of like get you to really reflect and take action.
This was an incredible interview. I know it was kind of more compact. We got started a little bit late on my end, so appreciate your time today. I know our audience can definitely take a lot from your personal stories, your journey. We didn't get to talk about much of it on the show. So, guys, if you're looking for more information on Judy, I mentioned it a few times, judyskilling.com. It's spelled SKILLING, again, .com. She's available on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can connect with her, reach out to her, check out what she's doing. She's got great positive energy, as you can hear in this interview or see if you're watching this on YouTube. Judy, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to let you get on, and let's do this again soon.
Of course, Mike. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.